All right, Timmy. So did you get a chance to see these Figure O 03 robots?
Taking a look at it, yeah, for sure. But where's that even coming from? Like, where's the obsession with robot? So, do you know what? Yeah, we're in this world where AI is the thing right now, but the robot obsession started before AI, but sort of AI overtook it. Is it because AI is easier to build, manage, give instructions because it lives in sort of like a virtual world as opposed to robots living in the real world and doing, actual things you have to do. How did we get to this point? Tell us about the Figure O 03 anyways.
All right, let's get right into it. It's backyard conversation. So basically, this Figure O 03, I just discovered it today. Honestly, I feel like it's been floating around for a minute. I want to assume this is O 03 based on the fact that it probably had like an O 01 and O 02. Then the interesting thing I noticed is the CEO posting on the internet that none of this is like controlled behind the scenes, that they're actually autonomous. These are humanoid robots, right, doing their own thing.
Let's hope so, because I know what happened with Amazon and that whole food thing where they had people in India somewhere,
Yeah.
literally, while they were scanning, while they were picking up items in the store, someone else in India was like recording and putting it into the registry. So
Yep.
let's hope that's not what's happening, right?
Let's hope that's not what's happening, because even Elon had a similar issue with his humanoid robots, where we heard that behind the scenes there were like people controlling those robots. So Figure O 03 looks like some kind of robot where if you feel like you can afford this robot, I feel like you probably don't need a robot, because they showed this robot in these settings where it's like putting away toys and computers and loading the dishwasher, washing machine, and it's like if your house is that organized where the robot can figure this out and it can put all these things away, you probably don't need a robot. You're organized enough to not need a robot to do that work.
Fair enough. Maybe you don't want like outside help as well. So it's a thing where you want like a robot is more dependable, trustable. You don't have to interact with, as opposed to say getting help to put it away for you if you don't want to do anything at all, right?
That's fair, because the house in the demo is at least 10,000 square feet. So, so I'm wondering if that's like the criteria to even order one of these, because you can't do this in a condo, right? This is not a Roomba.
Yeah, fair enough. Like with robots as well. Like I'm wondering, I want to see how far. Like sometimes I wish I was born like 50 years from now just to see where technology takes us and how we come about, because I really want to see how far, because robots have been in the discussion for a long time, like
A minute.
back in the day when they showed the old videos of people, I don't know, in the 80s or whatever, and how they envisioned the 2000s and something, they would be like, oh, they had robots working and doing this and that. Obviously we're nowhere near that. Robotics is very complicated, and then when you go to cybernetics as well, that's even more complicated, right? When you start to intertwine that with human interface and things like that, then it's even more complicated, right? Like fine movement is so difficult, like, because if you look at animals, for example, that have smaller brains, right? Like chickens and like birds and things like that, how they move, right? How they move their head, as opposed to us humans, like we have when we rotate our head, like how fine our movements are and how we can
They're
perform this
precise.
task with our opposing thumbs and things like that, right? It's very, very different. So I would love to see when we get to that level where it's like we have this fine movement where we can't even tell that it's a robot. But for now, I mean, we have number three here, and who knows, man? I wish I ever had insight to see what these companies are really doing, because who knows what's really going on and how much autonomy that does this robot have, right? Is it, you know, being taught certain tasks only, or can it be autonomous in doing the task? Can he be like, okay, there are dirty dishes in the sink right now, let me go put it away? Or is it very specific? It can only grab round plates. Like, how does he, maneuver a pan, for
That's a fair
example,
question.
in the oven?
That's a fair question, because I'm thinking the way it's gonna happen is, and I might be wrong here, but they might have pre-installed packages for certain types of tasks. So you think about cleaning up, it's like you just find things that are messy, quote unquote, like on the couch, things that shouldn't be there. Like here's an idea of a clean slate, what a couch should look like. If you have the computer, fold it, put it on the coffee table, and they even had a demo where this thing was in some kind of assembly line or Amazon warehouse doing packages. I'm like, that's going to be another data pack where you're like, okay, this is what the robot is going to do when it sees a box. How do you sort the boxes and all that stuff? But to your point about what the future of robotics is going to look like, I'm I'm pretty curious about that, in the sense that if you look at entry level jobs right now in many sectors, I'm talking about software engineering, I'm talking about UX design. Those jobs are already in real time being replaced by AI. So the entry level jobs in tech are reducing day by day. But sectors like mechanical engineering and construction, there's still opportunities for days, right? But the risk with that is you're building a bridge, you have a crane, you have tractors, you have excavators. There's a good chance someone's going to get hurt. So I think the future of robotics is where people are going to start deploying this, not just in medicine, like we're seeing right now, where people are doing surgeries via remote connection or all this kind of like even nanobots, right? These are robotics in a way. I think in construction, it's going to be one of those final frontiers where we meld this current AI that we have, just running all the software with robotics. I think that is the future. I think when those two lines converge, ultimately, that's what it's gonna look like, and you can just use your imagination on where they'll be deployed in what kind of industries and all that.
I mean, we clearly know where they're gonna be deployed.
Military, let's go.
Military intervention. Like we know for sure where that's gonna go. Soldiers on the ground, like straight up, that's where they're gonna deploy. But there's way better uses for them. I mean, if you're looking at AI where it is right now, like AI can recognize things in pictures and things like you can take a picture of your living room and ask AI how to design it or where you want to move your couch to or things like that, right? So obviously I can see where that works with robotics, where a robot can recognize things in the room and move things around and be like, okay, the pillow or the cushion needs to go on this side, and it can recognize where the challenge is. I think will stand is actually doing the activity, like bending down, picking it up, moving it over there, like things like that. That's where I think the there's a lot that goes into it, like even things like just sensors, and it has to have a lot of sensors to be able to scan where obstacles are, like maneuver, moving around, climbing on things, things like that, right? So I don't know, it would be great to see where it takes us. But now obviously we know AI is ahead of the game, and we know AI is going to do a lot in terms of just most jobs that you can do on a computer, right? Like
Yep.
most things that you can do on a computer, like an AI can most likely take over. When it comes to the physical aspect of it, though, I'm not sure how far robotics can go. Machinery or machine, what's the word for it? Like just machines in general, obviously can take over a lot of it. Like we have, carousels, like in logistics now, right? That move the boxes around, like little things like that, or the assembly line for cars.
Yes.
Or little things.
Automation in those sectors.
Exactly.
You can talk about the Mars rovers, like things already in space, already like somewhere, so on a distant planet, just exploring.
Exactly, but that's even easier than doing stuff here, because there's nothing on Mars, right? Like it's just gonna.
Are you sure?
It's gonna. There's no obstacle. It's going on the ground. Like we have self-driving cars now. That's not much different from a rover on Mars. Like driving around where there's no traffic, right? Like that's even easier.
Right.
There's no traffic. It's just gonna go around. It's gonna collect samples. It's gonna assume what things are.
Find a way to charge itself with sunlight if it can.
Yeah, exactly. So it might not even need to do that itself, right? It just has the sensors that angle the solar receptors to where the energy is coming from, right? It just angles it more to that direction, so it's even easier. So I want to see where, like, I'm down for robots. I'm not even joking. I'm down for robots to come here and take over, because I don't want to work.
I don't have that optimistic approach that you have. I think obviously you should always involve like the laws, Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, right? And what a robot should and should not do, including protecting human beings in harm's way. But I feel like when they take all the jobs, it's gonna suck the life out of a lot of people, because one thing that makes us human, I think, is our like constant pursuit of something.
Yeah, fair enough, but I think like society will evolve as well. Like back in the day, like when we worked on farms and we were hunter gatherers and things like that, what the kids do, they also did the same things along with. As we moved on and technology came and we had the need for different experiences and careers, what happened? Like we had institutionalized school for kids. Everyone went to school. We went to school Monday to Friday, right? Then you had the weekend. So I think society will also evolve with that, in the fact that we might have to see like fitness programs where it's like, okay, compulsory now, you're not learning these things in school, but then you have to go Monday to Friday. You have maybe 5 hours of physical activity to keep your body up to standard where it needs to be. Or it might evolve in a different way, who knows, right? Like the different ways it might go. So I think like society will evolve as well, because like if we're just staying at home and we're getting unhealthy and just dying off, I feel like society will find a way to be like, okay, now we have to do sort of like this other thing. Like we have to do group. Like your job now might be, okay, you're gonna go to your company and you guys are gonna do treadmill or whatever, lift weights or something like that in that regard. So it might even see society get healthier in general. So it's not always a negative. I don't think it might always lead to a negative
You'll be
side
surprised.
effects. It might be a good positive.
Just end up with Wally all over again. Everyone just floating on their hovercraft and watching TikToks.
I mean, it is what it is, but I doubt that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have that optimistic a view about robots, but yes, because I know human nature always tends to, for some reason, choose, um, especially people in power with all the funding and all the power, they always approach problems in a different way than we do. Like with your optimism, you will think about how robots can solve everyday problems. But I
Mm-hmm.
think for companies, corporations, publicly traded companies as well, they think about where the money is first before where the problem is, right? So think about like ChatGPT, for example. One would think, oh, what kind of problem are we solving? Is it we trying to use AI to find the cure for cancer, which they probably are doing because I know there's ChatGPT and AI used in healthcare like a ton, especially with Anthropic's Claude as well. But that doesn't mean that they don't do things like let's create an app where people are just doom scrolling with AI generated content like Sora, like they just did, right? Because they're desperate to make money. I feel like this is also a good pivot to the AI talk we're talking about, where it's like how are the Chinese getting all of these models to be just as good
Mm.
as the models we're seeing in North America and Europe for the best part with less time and seemingly not as good equipment.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let me address the talk of sort of like AI, right? Like in the background, um, I feel as though well, let's come back to the Chinese. Let's come back to the Chinese question. How are they doing it? Because like we don't know like where's the direction. Everyone's pumping their money into AI right now. A lot of people don't have returns, but they have like a future projection that they hope that this might generate later on. NVIDIA is blowing up because they're making all of these chips and pumping that in there as well. But like with the Chinese version, that's the thing. We don't have full like there's no transparency there.
Mm.
There's no full transparency. We don't know what's going on,
You're
right?
talking about on the back end, like in
Yeah.
Asia.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on. Secrets are protected. We don't really know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the reality of things, or are they just saying it, or have they found a way somehow to copy like the technology, right? That is developed in the Western with the Western companies like NVIDIA, for example, right? Like
Mm.
in terms of like their hardware, right?
I think it's a
Um,
little bit of both. I think because it's very opaque. Whatever is coming out from there, we just have to accept that it's whatever they say it is. It's hard to go and try and investigate it. There's some people doing some amazing investigative work, obviously, that can come out with the truth. But to your point, we just hear what they say and we're like, okay, I guess that's what they said, right? Um, but people have also shown. I think when DeepSeek first came out and everyone was blown away, people were
mm,
like, "Nah, don't believe everything they said." That they actually did use some of OpenAI's stuff to train.
Most likely,
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's like it's not like some kind of miracle that they did it outside of what everyone else is doing, right?
And every model is training on something else. Like they're learning from something. It's not just out of thin air. And
Right.
then when you go back into companies only getting into this for the money, well, challenges that I feel like the best performing companies or companies that eventually grow to become, what they are, actually solve problems first. That's why I think. Like if you look at Apple, for example, right? Like when they decided that a computer needs to be in every home, and that eventually transformed them to the company that they are today. Pre Jobs coming back, where they unveiled the iPhone, which also really transformed the company. But pre that,
Yeah.
they went focused on having personal computers in everyone's home. And if you look at companies really solving problems or closing a gap, right? It might not necessarily, like, obviously they want to make money, and they do eventually get to that point where it's like, I'm making money, and now it's like, what's the next big thing? But I feel like they start off with like a lot of the time maybe good intentions of like, we want to solve a problem or want to close this gap or that gap.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to address that part as well. And then yeah, when it comes going back to China again, in countries where they're not so liberal, so to speak, in terms of what goes on behind closed doors, we don't really know. So who knows? I feel like there's still a factor pushing NVIDIA. Like there must be something that makes it stand out where everyone is betting on it. Everyone and every corporation is betting on it, putting their money in there and pushing its development. So they must have the prime technology, or they have the know-how on how to do this. It's just like Amazon. Amazon has the know-how in logistics, right? They have the know-how in customer reviews, things like that, right? So I mean, they must know what they're doing. So who knows how Nvidia? Like, what do you think about Nvidia? You think that we're gonna see continued growth? Because I got a lot of shares in that. I'll tell you that. I've sold some, cashed out a bit, but I'm like, I have some there. I'm like, oh, should I take this out now, like, or should I ride the wave for even longer?
I think NVIDIA, I think they've done an amazing job with, how far they've come and how quickly they pivoted. Because if you remember during COVID, I'm talking about 2020, 2021, NVIDIA was like all the talk because people were mining Bitcoin, right? And GPUs were scarce. People were like, we're not going to get a GPU. I'm trying to mine Bitcoin. So we started seeing the market move during COVID. But then the subject matter changed from Bitcoin to AI, and Nvidia just rode that wave, right? It's like selling shovels during the gold rush, right? That's how it's put. Do I think Nvidia is worth like 4.5 trillion? Personally, I do not. But do I understand exactly why they're worth that much right now? 100%. Because if you think about it, what Nvidia is doing is not just like making chips, and they're also in robotics. They're also doing open source models for like voice and video. But where it's really compelling is the kind of money that flows between Nvidia and pretty much OpenAI is just going around in circles just to keep increasing their valuation and making them look inevitable. So Nvidia is putting 100 billion in OpenAI. OpenAI is doing a 300 billion cloud deal with Oracle. Oracle is buying billions of Nvidia chips. Nvidia is putting money back in Intel, which they kind of have to do right now because one, Intel is like one of the last great American companies that still manufactures in America, and the U.S. government is already involved in Intel as well. So it's one of those things where it's like NVIDIA is using that opportunity to say, hey, look, we're also investing in the future. That's almost like community service. I know it's a terrible thing to say about Intel that NVIDIA is doing community service for them, just like boosting them up a little bit, but that's exactly how it's happening. And OpenAI is also putting some money back in AMD, which is NVIDIA's direct competitor in GPUs. So this money is just going back and forth. And the fact that OpenAI still cannot turn a profit, right? A lot of companies that are NVIDIA's primary customers, they're gaining users. They're going to keep putting those metrics up in their earnings call, say we're increasing our user base, we're doing this and that, which is good, but it's going to be a while before they turn profit. But they're just going to keep buying those GPUs. They're going to keep building those data centers, and NVIDIA is just going to keep going to the moon.
And does that speak to a problem of the whole symbiotic nature of the industry right now, where everyone's feeding off everyone? Samsung is making Apple chips, NVIDIa's feeding into OpenAI, and like I don't know how I feel about that. Like it's like in the world right now, we have two major softwares for mobile phones. For example, we have iOS and we have Android, and we kind of feel like stuck.
Yep,
we're stuck there. There's nothing new.
It's a huge monopoly because companies try. Think about RIM, right? With BlackBerry, they didn't evolve quick enough. And then we have Palm OS, which is like a dream, but then Palm OS just came and went. And now I think it's going to be used. It's actually evolved into some of the software you see in LG's TVs, like WebOS. So it sucks that we only have two choices, and it's only going to get worse because now that Xbox is acting the way they are, PlayStation and Nintendo are really going to be the only two companies left in gaming consoles too. At some point, we're going to just have like A or B.
Yeah, that's why we need a little bit more innovation, and we need to like break the cycle of this whole symbiotic relationship with everyone, just using everyone's hardware or software or something. People need to break out more so we can see new ideas and we can sort of take us to the next level. I feel like that's why we're also stuck, even in terms of like robotics and how that's going too as well. I feel like we're stuck in a little bit of a cycle where we're building on an already existing platform, and there's only so much you can do. Think about having a foundation for a house. There's only so many floors you can put on top of that. But then if you go greenfield or brownfield somewhere else and start from scratch, like in a new environment, new design, then we can see something different. That's why I really truly, even though I don't like the Cybertruck that much, at least they took the initiative to try and do something different.
Yeah, no matter how ugly it is, it's different.
At least they did. He took the initiative to try and do something different. They are truly a standout truck because every other truck looks the same.
For the most
if you want
part.
to think about it,
Yeah, for the most part.
They're all the same. The Rams, the Ford F-150s,
The Tacomas.
they're all the same, right? At least they did something different, right? So I feel like we need to see a little bit more of a difference pulling out. Some people try to go a little bit like if we wanted. This is a good segue into the phone sector. I know you guys talked about the iPhone already in the previous episode, but just get into this nothing phone, for example, now where they try to do something different. But again, it's just a variation of the Android.
Yeah.
It's a variation of the Android software, and the phone itself doesn't truly offer something different. It's the same rectangle and it's the same,
Yeah.
like, who knows? What do we want?
I feel like the future of personal computing is going to be from our pocket to our face, right? We're already seeing the glimpses, not just with Vision Pro, but with this new Meta like Ray-Ban glasses. Obviously, it's still heavily dependent on you having a mobile phone. It has a camera on there with mics. There will be privacy concerns because with a phone, people will still see you bring out the phone and point it at someone. But if you're just wearing sunglasses and you're recording people, it gets creepy, right, over time. But we have to cross that barrier. It's going to be a thing where going into stadiums now, people are they're gonna get free access. No one's gonna search them. But the moment these glasses get popular, which they will, give it 3 to 5 years. The reason I say that is because a new Vision Pro is gonna drop, I think, this month or maybe next month. Either they announce it or it comes out. But it's still gonna be the big bulky headset, right? But because of how well people are receiving the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, even though people quote unquote don't like Facebook because they have privacy concerns with Facebook always sells their people's data, and Facebook always has to go to Congress and talk about they're gonna be better, and they get a slap on the wrist to pay a small fine. People are still buying those glasses, and the one company that is like our foundation is privacy. They're kind of behind on that because they have a bulky headset. So apparently within the system they started talking about how a dramatic shift is happening in Apple right now. They're still going to follow with the Vision Pro, but now they're focusing like a huge team to try and make something to compete directly with the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. So when you think about that, like at what point do we wear glasses and don't need to go out with our phones anymore? You need to get all that personal computing to the face. I don't know if it's going to be easy. Obviously I know it's not going to be easy, but I don't know how soon we're going to evolve to that point. But I think that's one of those things that's going to be like, oh, is this all the innovation we have when it comes? But it will come.
Yeah, just bring the robots, man. Then they can do everything. We don't need our phone. We're just be in constant communication with them, telling them to do what to do. Text this person, do that person, clean up the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like, let's just focus on that
Robotics, and trying not to get hooked on, fake AI videos on the internet. We talked about this, and I feel like we'll be doing our listeners a disservice if we don't tell them probably how to maybe distinguish between what is real and what is fake. Do you have any tips?
Honestly, it's really hard these days. I mean, sometimes you can say, okay, look at the picture itself. Sometimes you can tell in the picture how it evolves. There might be some glitches here and there, like the movement. But at the same time, it is really hard to believe. What I would say is that at least mostly if it's not realistic, not believable, then it's probably AI. That's the number one tip I would say.
Yeah.
If you see someone jumping off a 200 feet tall mountain into the ocean and stuff, doing a backflip into that, I mean, then it's probably AI. There's certain things that are just obvious like that. But then in terms of other ones, I mean, it's hard to say, man. Probably maybe that's the next business. Someone's going into AI detectors that can pull out information from pictures or videos and just tell you. So maybe you have that as a sort of like running app background in your phone, your computer. So I just go different things. It has a identifier that looks less, AI generated, right? The same way, like, if you go on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, things like that. It might have like a fake news, like tells you, okay, like a fact checker and say, oh, actually, this is not true based on blah, 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 right?
Notes.
Yeah. So the same thing, eventually it'll still be AI telling us that this stuff is not AI, that this stuff is AI, right? So
I know. Yeah, to your point, when he's starting to look too perfect, not just like too good to be true. Sometimes, like, you look at the people's faces, it looks like it's just so perfect. Sometimes that's a dead giveaway that it's AI. Even though now, with some of the things I've seen on Sora, it's very difficult to distinguish between what's real and what's not. In the past year, it used to be, oh, look at the hands. AI doesn't do hands, but now AI is perfect with hands. It took less than a year for AI to learn how to make hands look perfect, and that's no longer, a litmus test. You have to watch closely, and then the voices. So, say you see someone who's a public figure, Right now, the voices aren't perfect. It kind of has this warble to it. Like you could tell that the voice is fake. So that's one way to tell. And yeah, due diligence. Always double check, triple
Death to
check.
the machine.
Death to the machine. Always double check, triple check everything you see. Don't just see something and then gobble it up, because a lot of viral videos, misinformation are gonna be spread with this. I was actually surprised that this past election there wasn't like a lot of AI misinformation videos.
I mean, it probably was if you go on platforms that
Maybe
we
on
probably don't
Facebook.
use, like Facebook
Yeah,
and things like that. I'm sure there was.
I was
Because to be
expecting that.
honest, like, like the boomer generation and things like that, they're more easily fooled by AI.
Hmm.
So they probably targeted more on like places like Facebook and things like that. And then I'm not sure Facebook doesn't really have a fact checker like Twitter or
I don't
just
think
these
so.
other ones. So I think that they probably were there.
They
But
did
I
mention
mean,
they're gonna copy Twitter's community notes approach though.
yeah, whatever, Facebook. But anyways, I mean, if we get there, we get there in the Matrix, man. Find me in the Matrix, man.
Mhm.
Neo. I'll be out here battling Mr. Smith and all the other AI bots.
There you
But
go.
think about it. Would you wanna live in the Matrix without any knowledge, or would you wanna take the pill and have your eyes open? I say live in the Matrix.
Nah, because I already feel enough in the matrix right now. Because everything happening around me doesn't feel real. Like you just have to look around you. Like a day's worth of news is enough to let you think you're already in the matrix.
But you're in it, living in it. So
Exactly. So I want the alternative.
I wouldn't want, like, why would I want to eat good? I think I'd rather just eat my fried plantain and have it taste delicious and be like, Matrix, and leave,
Even though it
live
doesn't
out the
feel real.
Matrix and eat some porridge nonsense every single day, right? Like, it's like when I say, if there's a zombie apocalypse, just take me out. Like, I don't want to be here surviving, killing zombies every day just to
But you're
make
gonna
my
come
day.
back as a zombie too, right?
Take me. It has to blow my brains out so I don't come back. To burn me, whatever you gotta do. I think I'm done with that, man. Anyway, so Jide's out of the Matrix. I'm in.
Hmm. All right, you heard it here first. Backyard conversations, in or out of the matrix. Until next time, we're out.
Boom.